So it's 5:40 and I'm calling this meeting to order. Okay, so I didn't bring my town plan either.
That's right.
But it's online, right?
Yes, it is online.
We need to reference it.
So let's just start by going through this because I think it'll help us feel
We
motivated.
did something.
Yes. We did do, well, we have a housing needs assessment. That's basically what that is, right? So
Start
that's ongoing.
August 1st is the first meeting.
Okay, so.
So
Which
it's
is
in
Thursday.
process.
Yep.
Yes.
It's in process.
Yes.
Yep. The public space, we purchased the ball field,
Yes.
so, that's good. The public pool, so this recreational master plan thing keeps coming up.
So in the fall, I'd like to try to obtain a grant
Okay.
to do a comprehensive recreational study and looking at all the town assets
Mhm.
and the trails. And how do they connect? How do we have accessibility?
Just the town's assets or the private ones too, like
I think we,
Putney Mountain and,
I think we look at the private ones as well
Forest for
to
loading,
see,
okay,
yes,
yeah.
because there is connectivity,
yeah,
you know, throughout. And the sidewalks too are another, you know, means of accessibility and recreation, right? Or getting to and from.
Okay, so if you wanted to do that in the fall, what would we as a select board, what is the task that needs to be done to be prepared to do that? I'm just trying to
Right.
see what, like,
right, what's our role in that?
what's the role?
I mean,
If
we
we
have to
take that
approve
on, what do we have
We
to
have
do?
to approve the grant. That's
Yeah.
one thing we do, right?
The other element to this recreational study is standing up the recreational department
Mm.
for the town. That is a critical piece,
Mhm.
because without the comprehensive plan, I'm meeting with Libby North tomorrow, Lisa Steidel, my new admin, and Ann Carey and Tom Hinckley tomorrow afternoon to discuss, you know, how to move forward in creating the recreational department for the town. So that's gonna be key with the select board, because I don't know what that looks like yet.
What kind of input do you need from us though? Do you like structure or
Um,
budget or?
well, budget is gonna be something we'll be talking about in the fall, because I'd like to see a town recreational department, ready for July 1st.
Next July 1st.
Yes, 2025. So we plan for it in the budget.
Mhm.
A parks director would be really nice, because that will take all of the pool
Yeah.
tasks that we're dealing with right now
Yeah.
out of our office. And the parks director can manage all that instead of my office.
Brattleboro has a board of, I don't know what they call them. There's a rec board. So, which is supposedly overseeing Carol, who's the director of Parks and Rec, Parks and Park, whatever they call it over there. I don't know if we want to do that.
I guess one question I have is, you know, it seems like you've got a team of people who are working on this. Do you feel like you want select board representation on that? Is
Probably
that
one member would be
So you want
good.
a point person.
something that would be helpful?
Or just to be informative, so you know what's happening step by step, instead of being, you know, when something's almost done.
Right. Well, I find that useful to have somebody be a point person. It's it's more work on our part, is that we have to commit to doing these things,
Sure.
but then we come back and report to each other on,
Right.
this is where the fire department advisory committee is, or this is where the,
Mhm.
Parks and Rec development committee is or whatever.
Right.
Um,
And I also believe at some point we may have community engagement, because, people have said they want a playground,
Yeah.
a public playground.
Yeah.
So it's just getting started. I don't want to wait too long, because then we'll miss that April 1st, when the pool starts getting reactivated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I would suggest that we put a pin in that and say that is one thing that could use select board help,
Liaison.
and then go through our list and see
Yes.
how many other things,
Yes.
so
Right.
because we can't commit until we know
How many of those we need, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's only 5 of us. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Communication and are we done with that one?
Yes.
Communication and outreach, a redesigned website. We did it.
Yeah, it's complete.
Yay.
Oh,
I mean, it is ongoing.
can I just throw this out there too? So we talked about emails, right? We went from org to gov. All your personal emails need to be moved
Move
over
over.
to gov.
Yeah.
So this is a question to you. I know there was a comment made that we should have an email address. Let's not use names.
Right.
Let's maybe think about select board chair, select board vice chair, select board clerk, right?
Okay.
So there's 2 members that won't have an email. How do you feel about that?
I prefer that everybody have an email.
Well, I can't do select board member 1
You
and
do
2, because you gotta have a name.
And why are we not using names?
Because names change, and then we're gonna have to change the emails.
You can change the display name though.
I would have to look at that. It's Outlook.
I mean, maybe, yeah, I know, maybe you can't, but whoever's managing your Outlook.
Which we don't have anybody right now.
Let me get back to you. Let me
Yes.
ask, because
Something to
again,
think about.
Brattleboro has,
Think about it.
all of the select board members have email addresses, and I don't know how they're arranged, so I could ask, I could start that conversation.
With your communications,
Actually, he probably knows, because he was instrumental in
Right.
getting the whole thing together.
Right. so that's a
Just put
question
that-
for you
Yeah.
folks.
I mean, if I were a community member,
I want to be
I
able to.
would want to be able to communicate with people by name.
Mhm.
Right.
Because that's 3 steps to figure out, okay, I want to communicate with Fletcher, what's his role on the select,
Yeah, but here's the thing, your names are on the website.
I know, but I would
With
have,
the email, right?
With the email,
Yeah,
yes.
for contact. Yeah.
Yes.
So either way, it should work out.
That could be okay. But I think everybody should have one.
Yes, I agree with that.
Tomorrow is Tuesday.
I just want to go on record as saying I prefer to have our names as, if it can be, I think it can be
emails?
changed easily when we get new select board members. I don't think it's a big deal based on my understanding.
The
Do you mean the
account,
display name
yeah, the
or the
display
email
name
itself?
can be changed. The name itself, the account, is hard to change. Harder to change. It can be done.
Like say it said vice chair at
Right.
Putney, then you could change that to Peg Alden as the name. When somebody types in vice chair at blank, it will come up with your name, Peg Alden. That name could change, the display name, but the email itself, vice chair, is going to be.
Are you saying that it's really problematic to add new?
It costs more money.
It costs more money.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing is there's some set things like Act 250
Right.
stuff
That
that
happens.
goes to the select board chair. And
Okay.
if we have to change it every single time, I mean, then,
Right.
Laura Chapman
Okay.
gets
Right.
them for 5 years until she finally is like, hey, I'm tired of forwarding these,
Right.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
talk to
It just keeps it cleaner.
Yes, I can see that. I don't think it's user-friendly to our constituents, but that's okay.
Just so you know, we're doing that with planning commission. So planning commission chair, vice chair, and clerk, that's it. It's just the key people in the committee or commission.
I wonder if there's a way to have an all select board
Group? Yeah.
that it can
Once it's
send
in
to,
Once it's in Outlook, we can do all sorts of great stuff like that.
like that the public can access. Because oftentimes I feel like that's what people are wanting to do. They're
Yeah.
wanting to email
Right.
all of us.
Right.
Yep.
You know, the other thing too, not having a name, so if the next like chair or vice chair, so those emails will be in one place. So,
Right, so we can access
yes.
everybody's previous
Right.
emails.
Yes.
So the history is
So
all
be careful
there.
what you say. Um,
And when are we going to get these new email?
As soon as we make a decision about how we want to
wanna
set
do
up the
Okay.
select board emails.
So, I'll, it's on my calendar, so it
Okay.
exists now.
So Eileen.
All
Eileen,
right.
you're owning this one.
Took one. Okay. Economic development consultant. So where are we? So we have the Putney revitalization group going on pretty strong right now. Do we still need this?
Oh, Discover Putney.
Yeah.
I would just put this on the back burner for now. I don't think we need it. If Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation or Wyndham Regional
Mm-hmm.
come through with something,
Yeah.
yeah, I would just wait on that one.
All right.
And this might be like a shared service with another town.
That'd be neat. Energy. So, this has been kind of my baby since I got here. So my name's on it anyway. So I do think, we want to create some kind of transportation,
Mm-hmm.
Right, now that we don't have the
alternative
shared-
transportation committee or something like
Committee.
that, since we can't get an energy coordinator in the near future, and
Right.
Sue's out straight. That doesn't necessarily include solar on public land.
Not if it's transportation.
No.
So solar on public land, in the greater scheme of things, like a community
Mhm.
solar project, where, community members can buy into it,
Yeah.
and we're not sending it out to other places.
You mean like the one that solar
Sun farm.
sun farm?
Yeah.
Pearl?
But we do,
And I
in
don't,
that model, we do send it out to other places. It's just metered. It goes out to
Right, goes wherever.
Green Mountain Power, and then we get our share of it back. What are you thinking?
well, I'd like to see the community buy into a large solar array for their personal consumption. And I don't know.
You mean the same model, but as like a larger community piece? Like,
Yeah. So I'm thinking there's gonna be municipalities that own their own solar array. And then they,
yeah,
Yeah.
but most of them, don't they use that energy for their buildings?
yes. So this is a project that
Yeah.
down the road. I think it's important,
Yeah, I'm super interested. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
what the
but I think it can
model
be,
would be. Is there a
I
town
don't-
that we can think?
I don't know.
You don't know.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I haven't really had time to look into it, but a committee would be good to handle something like this.
I think it's a problem if you set up a municipality to compete with something that private industry is there and capable of doing. people are setting up solar arrays and selling participation. If we set up a municipality to compete with those people, that's a problem.
It'd probably be like a electrical, what are those electrical districts, power districts, like Jacksonville has.
Right. Yep, that could be a possibility.
I mean, I agree with you, but I think there might be a way to do it through that kind of model.
But I think it's something that we should be looking at. And however
Okay.
that works, I don't know.
Well, I think we were talking about select board liaisons, so I think that's another SB liaison one.
Well, are we talking about two different committees there? An alternative transportation?
I'm totally not interested in the solar. I mean, I am in concept, but I'm not like super excited to, put solar on the fire station. So
Now that I'm
I'm
interested in.
biased here. So maybe it's maybe it's either two different committees or maybe it's two different, research projects.
Right.
We don't necessarily have to have a committee if we have the time and energy to do it. I'm just not sure that I, can do that
Right.
without other people. Because I don't know, I don't know a lot either about these, other than I use them.
Right.
Okay, let me see if I can. So we're talking two different things here. Well, first
I
of
am.
all, putting solar
Yeah.
panels on the fire department
Mm-hmm.
is different than setting up a
Yeah.
community solar
Yeah.
panel, solar district or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of into the first sounds like a reasonable, doable project to analyze. Like, how cost effective would it be for us to put solar panels on the fire department? The other one sounds much more complicated and, so is that something we just want to see if somebody wants to do some research on, like the first one?
You're all looking at me.
It sounds like we need to give energy to our energy committee again.
Yes.
Like we need to start that up again
Yeah,
if we want to look at it two different ways at least.
We can do that. I guess that's where I was thinking that rather than calling it the energy committee, because it clearly was not gaining any traction for volunteers, or wants to reduce fossil fuels and stuff, but they don't actually want to work on weatherizing homes. So I was thinking that it might be more exciting if we talked about bike racks and charging stations and buses, and and that we could probably get some traction there. Because I know people that ride the bus, and I know people that walk, and I know that I know
Right.
people that bike, and I know those, and we have people with charging car chargers. So those things, we all recognize the problems there. The other piece is a little more, I don't know, just it's stodgy, I guess.
Right.
So I really want to get that piece done, and I don't think it's necessarily something that has to be ongoing, like
Right.
for years and years and years, because
Right.
once we get these things, we don't have to have a committee anymore.
So what if it's a task force instead of a committee?
Sure, we can call it a task force.
Because it has a
Yeah.
particular task.
And the other one, this one would also be it'd be a feasibility study with a group of people who know what they're doing.
So question, so the language we're using now is task force, and are they under the same jurisdiction as like an advisory committee?
It's an advisory committee. I guess it's sort of like the fire department advisory committee,
Yeah.
which has a set goal and a set endpoint.
Right, a resolution
Yeah.
that dictates
So
what.
it's an advisory
yes.
committee. Let's
Like
be
a-
consistent with our
Okay.
language there.
Yes.
It's just
Okay.
that let's
No,
not
it's
like
fine.
stand up a committee and then let's let it like
Right,
run forever, but make sure that it finishes its goal.
okay.
And it can be, one thing at a time.
Okay, so let's do the transportation
Piece.
task, advisory committee, and then see where that
And then
goes.
see what, okay, so
Okay,
that one's, the solar is on the back burner.
yes.
Okay. Animal control ordinance, you said we have a draft. Why didn't we move that forward? I forget.
I think it was bad timing. We were in budgets going into
Okay.
January and
Was it before we had an animal control officer?
no, we already had the animal control officer.
So if we have a draft, can we just bring it back up for discussion?
We can,
So let's just do that.
right, because there were comments from VLCT that needed to be addressed.
Mhm.
So I will get a copy out to the board.
Okay.
And then we can decide which meeting to bring it up. So ordinances, by the way, require public hearings.
Two, right?
At least one, maybe
Those
two.
two.
Yeah.
And then they have to be posted, or they don't take effect until some amount of days?
60
So that
days.
people can, because people
Yeah.
can appeal them.
That's
Right,
correct.
Okay.
Can you do more than one ordinance at a time? Like, can you say,
You
oh, it's
can.
an ordinance
I don't know.
day, we're going
That's a
to do
VLCT
multiple
question.
ordinances?
That's a lot of work.
All right, well, we don't want to
So
have
there.
to do any work.
Okay.
It would be a lot of work, Peg.
Okay.
Yeah.
We probably should
Actually,
do
as
them
I'm
on a-
looking here, I'm only seeing one ordinance. It was more of a question.
Yeah.
I thought it was a simplifying the work.
No,
Right.
I know. But ordinances, so policies are a lot easier
Yeah,
because you don't have to have public
right,
Right.
hearings.
right.
So,
That's what I was
so-
trying to.
yeah. So policies, we can do more than one at a time.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
Yeah, let's put that one on, if not next meeting, then the meeting after.
I would put it on the second August meeting
Okay.
because I want you to review it first.
Do
Then
you
if
think putting it further in August is gonna make us read?
Maybe not, but at least you had an opportunity.
I'm gonna be on the train for 33 hours. I'm gonna read a lot of stuff this week.
All right, start with the animal control ordinance.
Okay, blight policy, that was revised and then we tabled it.
Eric.
What do we feel like about, I mean,
That one's gonna be a hard one, okay? And-
that's why it hasn't gone anywhere.
And honestly, I don't think it's a policy, it's an
It should
ordinance
be an ordinance,
because
yeah.
it affects the
I
community.
think he wrote it as an ordinance.
Yeah.
Actually.
So,
I don't really have a big feeling about this one way or the other. The reason that it came up at all in my time was that there was a pretty messy property on, what is that road, Old Town Farm Road?
yes.
There's two of them actually on either side of the road.
Town Farm Road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And neighbors were complaining. So it comes up every once in a while. The one on Route 5 comes up sometimes. It just comes up and people kind of get angry about it and they do something about it, and then we write something and then we look
try
at
to
it,
write
we try to
something.
write something and we look at it and go, I don't know about that one, and then we table it. So I don't think it's going to go away as an issue, but I don't know whether we need, I don't feel strongly one way or the other myself. What do you guys think?
I think Charlie did a valiant job to try and turn it into a health and safety ordinance and fell short.
Okay.
I think it's just asking for trouble if you're really just adopting an ordinance that's an aesthetic ordinance.
Mhm.
I think you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
If it's truly health and safety, treat it under health and safety.
Right. So maybe that's the route
So
to
health
go.
officer,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if it's really a hazard to the public somehow, just because the neighbors don't like how it looks.
I know we're getting into
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah, it's.
property rights and
Yeah. All right,
First
so
Amendment rights and all that, yeah.
you're gonna table that
I
one?
think we're just tabling it.
Or do you wanna just remove it for now?
I'd dump it, I'd table it to oblivion.
So let's
The
just take it
oblivion
off the
table.
list.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
taking it off the list, all right.
And we do have health and safety ways to
Yeah,
deal with
Well, I mean,
Jurisdiction, yeah.
there's the health officer, and then there's the state has some jurisdiction environmentally as well, so I think, I mean, that's the route we've been going.
Uh-huh,
I think we're covered.
okay. And I'm just, this is more just a curious question kind of thing. Is the health and safety issues, are they geared towards the community or geared towards the inhabitant of a house where somebody's hoarding?
I think it
You
depends
know,
on what it is.
Like,
It's usually toward other people than the inhabitant. You can pretty much do a lot of stuff in your own
right,
residential premises that
right,
aren't necessarily recommended, but if
Right.
you want to be a fool, you can do it. But it's when it starts to affect, endanger the people around you.
right.
Yeah, like oil
I
going into
mean,
the.
if it's a danger to you,
You can do it.
call the mental health team. But if it isn't, if it gets beyond that,
Right,
then
right.
then law enforcement or
Yeah,
health officer, there are existing mechanisms for protecting the neighbors.
Okay.
okay. Personnel policy.
We're very close.
Okay.
So I sent it to VLCT,
Mhm.
passive, Julie McKenzie, who's a legal attorney, and asked her for a review, and she's,
Recently?
yes,
Okay.
like within the last 2 weeks, and
Okay.
she recommended me to a human resource consultant to have them review it.
We went down that route before.
Yep.
Okay.
So, I will send it off to this consultant, see what they would charge to
Okay.
review it, but I'm a little perplexed that with VLCT having a legal department, why they're not doing it for us. So,
Yeah.
so that's another whole nother conversation.
Okay, so you think that's pretty close?
It's very
So we're gonna
close.
see that pretty soon.
It's very close. I wanted it done by July,
Yeah.
but maybe that second meeting in August.
Is there an existing policy that we're revising?
Yeah, it's 2013.
Yeah, some things have changed since 2013.
Yes.
Okay. So can we put a date on that maybe? Like
Just,
September,
yeah, what is end of August?
end of August? Okay,
I'm gonna shoot for the end of August,
all right,
because it's really close.
okay.
I just
The
want
end of
to,
August is really close.
I know. It's like, I don't know where July went.
All right. So these are all, so balanced budget policy, improvement plan policy, fund balance reserve policy, highway access policy, and fee structure. The fee structures we should talk about, I think. Sign ordinance and fee structure, transit and temporary business ordinance and fees. Oh, like food trucks and things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So signs in the temporary business fees are like $10.
Can you explain those
Which ones?
sign ordinance? Do we have a sign ordinance
We do.
in effect?
Yes.
And are you proposing that we change it? Is that why it's here?
Yeah. So I think it needs to be updated for one,
Uh-huh.
because I forgot when it was dated. And
It's on the website.
there are a lot of signs, that just pop up, and we need to decide, what's allowed. what's not, and, it's like, the fee is like $10. So like,
We're talking about like
Junk hauling,
the general store, or yeah, are we talking about like
sandwich boards.
sandwich boards, or are we
Yeah.
talking about, okay.
Yeah, and like business signs too. So people who put up a business sign, they have to get a permit for that. So I think we need to revisit it. It's very old.
Brattleboro does the same thing. They have.
Isn't
sign
that
permit.
part of the zoning bylaw?
Sign.
No, it's a
No.
sign ordinance.
Maybe it should be.
It's a select board ordinance. So I don't know if because we have it, if we can. Do we need to keep it? I mean, how do we? I guess.
first I just wanna see it. I
Yeah.
haven't.
This on. There it is. Ta-da!
Oh my gosh, this whole thing?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, well then I guess we have, I didn't review this.
Yeah,
Did
like-
anybody else review this before this meeting?
Every precious word.
Did you folks look at the list of the ordinances and policies? I emailed it to you. That's what we should focus on too.
When did you email that?
Last
Oh,
week
you did.
sometime.
Look at that. No, this is not a list, this is
I sent it with
oh, here
the
it is.
explanation of ordinance.
You know what, I
and-
didn't read it all the way through, because I was like, it's just an explanation of ordinances, and I don't need to read that.
And policies. Well, there's a
Yeah,
difference between the two, so.
Right.
That is why I sent it to you. So the temporary business ordinance, which is another select board ordinance, May 31st, 1996.
You all set with that? Gotcha.
So I guess I'm super open to your saying this ordinance needs review
Mm-hmm.
and putting it on our agenda and, one at a time
Right,
and going through it. That makes perfectly good sense to me.
Right, right.
I'd be willing to put, invest the time to really dive in
Yeah.
ordinance by ordinance.
right.
Are you proposing that we
So-
do one at a time, or do them have an ordinance party, or?
Writing policies and ordinances is not easy. Because you have to collect a lot of data.
Yeah,
You gotta make sure that, you're current with law, because that comes into play too. We have legal counsel here at the table that can, having somebody with a legal background is helpful. And I'm not clear how other small towns develop and keep their policies and ordinances up to date. Because we have a lot.
I want to know who came up with a 17-page sign ordinance.
I know, right?
Somebody with a lot of spare time.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
The other thing too to consider, Peg, when we start talking about updating an ordinance or a policy, what's going on right now in the community, right? So I look at, Julie and Greg Winchester, having the vendors there.
yeah,
So this ordinance right here,
all of a sudden is up.
we should be looking at this
Yeah.
because we're only gonna get more interest in having food carts in Putney. So it's a means to be up to date and current
Yeah,
and be efficient when somebody comes to us and says, hey, what do I have to do? I wanna have my mobile cart, food cart, set up here
right,
or there.
yeah,
Well, there's state statute, the state regulates it to a degree. I had a long conversation with Dave when Dave was still running Tandoori about this. And he said, basically, I have to be self-contained. I have to come with my own water, my own source of power. So basically, from the town standpoint, all we're talking about is where do you park it?
Yeah.
right.
Because, are we gonna tell Greg and Julie that they can't park, and let somebody park a truck on their property? Poor Greg's been trying to find a way to get a quick lunch ever since, Curtis shut down.
Well, here's the thing, so the state does regulate, the actual mobile food cart. They have to have permits through the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so that is not in my jurisdiction. That is a questionnaire that we ask people, which
Right.
definitely needs some changes, because there's some questions on there, I'm not even sure they can be on there. So this is why I bring this particular ordinance to the board.
Well, that's the other thing about like an ordinance like that. 17 pages for that. Why do we want you to have to be responsible for knowing 17 pages of stuff for a sign?
For $10.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where this is
I
coming.
think it ought to be
Yeah.
a page or two, something
Right.
that you
Yeah.
Right.
can understand and,
Yes.
Yeah. just have in the back of your head and implement on the fly without
Right.
having to pull out a
Yeah.
research project.
Yeah, in different districts, you have different, restrictions and limitations, and I'm like, why can't it just be simple?
Yeah, so basically all we need is signs that can be, signs which may be displayed without a sign permit, which ones do need signs, and which ones are just prohibited entirely.
Right.
I think we ought to look first at the zoning ordinance and see how much of it's covered by that. That's
Well,
going to have dimensional requirements
there's a
and
lot of-
all of that in there. So why do we need to put that into another ordinance, the zoning bylaws and ordinance
So
itself?
we are doing the zoning bylaw modernization, that's gonna be starting in
Exactly.
September.
Yeah, maybe this
But-
should be folded into that though.
You could, because it's not, signs are not in the zoning.
Maybe that's-
Often they are. I mean, I usually find them in zoning ordinances.
Yeah, so
But there's
maybe
something
they
that
should,
said what the dimensional.
I'm saying right
limits-
now, our current bylaws do not
Right.
have sign,
Huh, well, we might want to look at that.
yeah. So,
so if we do look at that, then maybe this should go to Sue
That's the
for
point.
this, for the,
well, I'm on the committee, so I can bring it up.
because that makes a lot more sense just to simplify, because it talks about zoning, it's
Right.
basically a zoning thing, it's a
Yeah.
permit for a sign, so.
Yeah, and it would eliminate that kind of stuff right there,
Right.
Right.
so.
Where is that one?
This is vendor permit application.
Yeah, read through it, Nate. So if we're thinking of this, are there any other ordinances?
That fall under.
That falls
Zoning.
under that.
Yes.
Well, what about the transient and temporary business ordinance? Is that is also a zoning thing?
It can be, because I think Brattleboro permits all of theirs
They permit,
through.
but the transit ones, the events go through the town manager's office, town clerk's office
For events?
for events. Or part of it starts at the town clerk and then it ends up at the town manager's office. So planning doesn't have anything to do with events.
Okay.
Transit businesses, I don't know, I don't think they deal with those either.
Do we have a current transient and temporary business ordinance?
Yes.
So like the
1996.
event that the co-op is gonna do, the event that the co-op's gonna do in September
Right.
is covered under that, but that isn't a zoning thing. In Brattleboro, it's not a zoning thing. Because usually it has more to do with like traffic,
Roads,
and,
closing a road.
Right.
the
The Halloween party.
Halloween party, yeah.
Right.
So it's not transient and temporary businesses per se.
It's more like an event
It's
event
more-
ordinance,
Yeah.
Which,
Well, yeah, what does this even refer to, Karen? When you when you look at the policy for transient and temporary business,
So that's for something that, only might be, 1 or 2 days or
like
3
a
days.
pop-up,
Pop-up something, yeah. Remember the woodworking event?
yes, I
That
do,
was
on your,
over-
on
yes.
your property there.
Yes, so I permitted that as a temporary business.
Don't we have an event policy, event ordinance?
I was just looking, because I have a file
This one I
on
saw that, I thought the whole
event
Cooper
ordinance,
Fields
but
bandwagon series is what brought us up to alcohol. I guess we don't.
I don't think we do. I just have other towns.
Okay, so,
So maybe it's really not about a business.
yeah, I think it's an event.
Event, and maybe part of the policy is if it's a money-making event, not for a nonprofit,
Yeah.
that there is some fee or something. I don't know, that
Right.
we could differentiate once we get into the event, right?
Right,
So
So we
let's
need
look
to-
at that a little
okay.
more.
okay. So when you say let's do that, who's looking at that?
But we're putting it on the to be done, and then we have to go
Okay.
back
Yeah.
and say who's
Okay.
Yeah.
gonna do
Fair.
what.
All right, so
On the
those
list.
two are definitely in the running.
Which two, when you said those two?
Sign.
Sign. And the,
Signs that go into zoning.
Signs going to zoning. We're
okay,
gonna give it to Sue. Or you to
Yeah.
give
And
it to.
animal control ordinances are, we don't have to do anything, we're just waiting for it to come back up to us.
Yeah, and we
Yes.
have one, it's just this is a newer one.
Okay,
right.
And then the highway access policy and fee structure, that again should be in zoning, shouldn't it? Because that's about curb cuts, isn't it?
No, because, so that one is if there's no driveway.
Right. Sounds like a zoning thing to me.
Well, it sort of is and it isn't because, so somebody can have raw land
Mm-hmm.
and want to put a driveway.
Right.
They don't have to have an E911 address until they decide to build something. So,
Yeah, but they do have to have, I mean, they don't have to, but it would be good if they, before they just willy-nilly cut down a path into their land and
They do
created a
that
dangerous,
anyway.
I know, created a dangerous situation, that somebody comes out from the highway department or fire department or something and inspects where they're about to do that so that,
so the highway department has to look anyway to make sure it's
Right.
in a good place.
right, so that's,
So I don't want the zoning administrator dealing with that and then,
that's fair.
crossing over, you're crossing over to like, that's definitely a highway department and, E911
Yeah, I guess
addresses can go through highway department.
It's just, like really steep driveways become problematic for runoff,
It's not a
For
zoning
instance.
thing though.
for instance, yeah.
It's not a zoning thing.
Well, where does it?
Highway department. And
But when
that,
you're applying for a zoning permit, you're before the DRB and you say, my driveway's gonna be here, and the DRB says, well, what's the grade on that?
they don't,
They don't look at that.
they
Well,
don't look
maybe
at
they
that.
should.
Well, not all like new homes go in front of the development review board. They can go in front of the zoning administrator,
Okay.
so.
Who only wants to know if you have access to a public highway, doesn't,
Right,
Yeah.
how good an access, and
right.
you have to have, if it's on your own property, I think you're supposed to have 200 feet of frontage.
You
It
are.
does-
If you're
it-
passing over someone else's property with a right-of-way, you only have to have a 50-foot
Yeah.
wide right-of-way.
It does cause problems though, like a badly constructed driveway on a really steep hill will wash out a road.
Yeah,
I
but
know
it
this
doesn't-
because I live on one.
But zoning doesn't care. Zoning is
Right.
just, do you have access on
Right.
a public right-of-way?
I
but
know
the
it doesn't care
town
right
should.
now, I think it should, I'm wondering if it should care, that's all.
Well, here's the thing too. So I would not go out and look at a driveway, because I wouldn't know what I'm
Right.
looking at, okay?
But you could have the highway department do that.
The highway department does that.
Right, and they could come back to you and say yes or no.
But that
Well, they
again-
do already.
Okay.
They already do. So somebody building a driveway has to get the access application, the highway access application. The highway superintendent goes out. That's the very first thing. It's like, here, go look at this, make sure that, it meets our criteria and, standards, right? And then they usually come back, they sign off on it. Then the person builds it, and then the highway superintendent goes back out and signs off on it to make sure that it was built right.
Well, what does built right mean?
Up to our standards, our town highway ordinance.
Okay.
So you should probably look at that.
I guess I should.
Yeah. But, can it be cleaned up? Maybe made, the process more efficient.
Yep.
But I can say that our driveway, policy is, it's better than it was. It's a better standard than it used to
That
be.
used to be, okay.
Um,
And then there's the fee structure, which is not adequate to the time involved with the highway department and your time too.
There's no charge,
There's no charge at all?
no charge at all.
I think we should be charging for people's time.
Yeah. So that is
So
a fee
that's the part- so
structure
that's the
that
part
I
we should
would,
really look at.
yes,
Okay.
that is the part,
right.
Eileen, that needs to be
Okay,
evaluated.
so let's put that on the list. Fee structure. Have we beat these ones to death?
What did we say about the budget and the fund balance reserve policy and those?
So Kim and I are gonna look at all of these,
Okay.
because we're gonna be working with the auditor as well.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, tax revenue streams. Local sales tax. That's the 1% options, right?
Correct.
So we put that on the town warrant last year, and it generated a lot of big questions, which we were not prepared to answer.
Right.
So I guess the question is, do we want to try that again with, better answers? I think there was some people were like, well, we just don't know enough to vote on this.
I feel like a few of the business owners weren't happy about it.
Some were and some weren't. There were,
Some were happy?
yeah,
Oh.
some thought it was a better idea than others.
I think some discussion was just plain, it's gonna increase prices, that's gonna tend to drive away business.
Right,
But a lot of people were concerned about how it's implemented.
right.
And I think the discussion got away from people at the town meeting, but I think the state implements it. I mean, the state already does sales tax. You tell them
Yeah.
you have a local option, they can add the 1% on.
Right.
It gets
Yeah.
collected at point of sale, and then when they get around to it, the tax department sends the town a check for
Right.
their share.
Yeah, there were some questions that led us into the weeds, though, like,
Yeah.
Right.
does Amazon collect it, or, it's like,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
I mean, as I recall, Richard Vassell was the person who seemed to understand
Yes.
it the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was pretty sure that, hey, the state can
Mhm.
implement this if you put it in, they'll implement it.
Yeah, and then they take a portion of it, so.
Yeah, that was the annoying part,
Yeah,
was almost, is there anything left for us, or are
You're
we
right,
just
I know.
generating revenue for the state?
I know.
Right.
Theoretically, I don't know where, I think that actually goes into the education fund, so theoretically it comes back to us that way.
Yeah. I
Right?
think that's the piece we need, is just to have a lot more clarity
Okay,
on those
so-
numbers.
So do we want to try again?
Sure.
And with more information?
I
Be
think
more
if we,
prepared.
do some due diligence, because we definitely need to generate revenue
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for Putney.
Yep.
And we have to be creative. So, if we pull this apart and maybe we do one let's look at it
Okay,
and try to be fair. And
yep,
I think also having a public hearing before town meeting,
yep,
even with the budget,
yep.
so we can just outline it and explain it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, the other, rooms, meals, and alcohol tax, that's part of the option tax,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the philanthropy solar, so we get stuck on this because, because of the solar farm. But it is an opportunity to generate revenue from the for-profit solar arrays that are in town. That's the reason we wanted to do it. So,
So they're all
So the
for
stat-
profit, right?
well, except for the farm is,
Not necessarily. I mean,
They're
you
not
could
all
set it
for-
up
yeah.
as a nonprofit. That doesn't mean it isn't designed to make money for somebody.
Right.
It just means that it's registered with the Secretary of State as a nonprofit. meaning
Right. So
it's-
as long as they're a nonprofit, they wouldn't get taxed.
I don't know if that's true.
Or they have to
I
be
don't-
exempt.
Yes.
So they would,
Yeah.
they would
They would
come
be-
to the taxpayers with an article
They would
to
have to,
be exempt.
they would have to go,
State.
no, wait. If they're a 501c3,
Mm-hmm.
they're not necessarily exempt unless they go to the listers with a pious and charitable request.
Okay.
I'm not sure if a solar array would qualify as a pious, charitable, or public good.
Mhm.
Depends if you have a sunrise service every
Right.
maybe.
I don't think that they would fall under that. I don't have the statute in front of me, but it really got very confusing as to whether we were able to take these out of the, it was either I think the answer we got back was we either have to tax everybody or we have to tax nobody. So there wasn't a really good way to get these exempted.
Right.
Um,
Hence, an energy committee. See, a committee could be
all right,
working,
okay,
be working on
so
that.
that's a solar, it's not an energy committee, it's a solar panel committee,
All right, that
solar
can
array
be
committee.
Then
It is an advisory
Climate
board. It's not
resiliency.
an advisory committee.
Solar Array Advisory Committee, the SAB,
Yeah.
or that's the
SAC.
board, SAC. Oh, well. Okay, so that's an energy solar advisory committee.
And that, if there were such a committee,
Mm-hmm.
then they could take on that issue and the solar panels on the,
Yeah, they could.
you know,
Yes.
that would be a
Yes.
reasonable set of things for a task force to
Yep.
take
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
And that takes that work away from the board and
Yeah.
can focus on other things.
Revenue streams, so, zoning application fees revisit, that's basically,
That's gonna be in the
Just
zoning
making-
bylaw.
okay.
I'm gonna
so-
bring that to the committee,
I love it.
and then we'll bring the fees to the board.
Okay, yeah,
But
but once everybody has studied the issue and then we can
right,
vote it up and down
Yep,
like that.
yep.
Okay. Zoning impact fees as well?
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay. Zoning bylaw regulations.
So this,
Oh, so that's those zoning bylaw regulations.
yeah, so all of this is gonna, well, except for the solar. Well, solar could be a question, no, I don't know if solar could be.
I don't know what you mean by, well, zoning, like,
Yes,
well, that's the,
isn't it,
preferred site, that's the
Yes.
preferred siting.
Right.
The energy committee piece.
Right.
I mean, energy, chapter, preferred siting for solar.
in the town plan?
Yeah, so
Right.
that's already done.
I'm gonna leave that on there, it's gonna be a question
Okay.
in the committee.
Okay. Cause that's when the solar, like, when they come to us and ask if they can use they wanna put it in the brown site from,
Right, Soundview, Yeah. Paper
Yeah,
mill,
Sunview
yeah.
on, what road is that? I'm
River
losing it.
Road?
Yeah, thank you. That's part of that, like we have, it's in our town plan. It's really in our town.
It is in the town plan. All right,
It's called preferred siting.
yep. Preferred
Oops.
siting.
Yeah, recommend preferred sites for renewable energy facilities that respect natural resource and agricultural land conservation.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and those ones are completed.
Yes.
All right,
Yay.
so
Priority.
now we have to prioritize. Okay.
Well, what's even on the list?
Okay, so the select board liaison for recreational master plan
Yeah.
is on the list.
Solar Advisory Committee.
I don't have any idea what that says, back burner. Solar advisory committee, transportation or all transportation committee,
Advisory Committee.
the alt fee structure
Highway
for
access.
highway,
Yeah,
fee structure,
and that's a policy?
highway.
It is a policy, yes.
Okay.
Sign ordinance, we were gonna
Give to
Zoning.
the
Zoning.
Zoning.
so
But the transient and temporary, or the event
event,
Right.
ordinance.
formerly known as transient. Is that an ordinance? Oh, well,
Says-
that is, that one's an ordinance. Yeah, I guess, and
It
fees.
is.
And
Yes.
fees, okay. So, and then, that's it. So that's
Unless
one,
we
two,
want
three,
to add
four,
kind of
five.
prepping for community conversation about the 1% options, making sure
Right.
we've done our homework so that
Yep.
we can answer
Right,
people's
local
questions.
option tax.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Darn, it was almost perfect. 5, one each.
I know,
I know.
right?
Well, one each and everybody.
I was thinking, yeah, we all need to learn
I mean,
more
that
about
one,
that 1%.
yeah.
well,
'Cause-
I just want to put on there, it's not on this list, but the fire rescue advisory thing
Yeah, what about
is
the ones,
actually
That
a
we're already doing?
large-
Yes.
Yeah, what else are we actively?
you have cannabis?
We don't want cannabis. Okay, no,
Rachel
it's
put
the
a lot
alcohol-
of time into
alcohol, okay,
that.
the alcohol,
Alcohol,
speaking of cannabis, alcohol, ordinance,
yeah, because we have one of those.
Recreational substance ordinance.
It does not tie into the recreational
Right,
comprehensive
does that go
plan,
into
okay?
the recreational
No.
plan?
I mean, we can.
No.
Well, it's no longer
Coffee.
just that, right, exactly.
So, folks, there's a facility rental agreement,
Yes, there is.
facility use policy and requests. So, that's a policy of the select board,
About using town.
facilities. So
And
I
it
don't
means-
know if that alcohol ordinance could tie into
Tie it in
this.
there.
Yes.
Well, no, because it's broader than that, isn't it?
The alcohol policy basically was no alcohol unless you get a permit.
Right.
That's the permit, I think. Like, you would fill this out, and on there, and I know this because I just did it, on there it says, are you planning on having alcohol or not, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, alcoholic beverages on town property. So if you're renting town property, I don't know why we can't merge these two together.
are there any other places where where the alcohol / recreational cannabis would intersect with the town other than renting of town
So
facilities?
it's a little bit more, this is a little bit more than just like town hall. It's not, not on the sidewalks and,
Right,
So,
the alcohol
yeah,
policy.
so.
Yeah.
Right, like can I walk down Main Street
With a beer.
or smoking weed?
And maybe,
like,
yeah, maybe we don't care anymore, I don't know.
No,
Well,
I see-
sidewalks are public.
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying, it is more than just rental.
Yes, yeah.
The rental thing seems, I mean, we have to say, if you're renting,
so I'm on the old site.
they're separate from each other, I think.
I think
They overlap.
Yeah,
but
they
they
overlap,
are.
but not, yes.
You know, like I really do wonder where, are there state laws about where you can?
No,
Smoke weed?
that's why this is here. Somewhere in 1978, it became an issue. Because everybody had this policy, same exact
Right.
policy, written up. All right, shall be unlawful to have alcohol under or above a public place described herein, exceptions, then, let's see what they say.
So no permit shall be issued for school property,
It's a school, I mean, that,
which, I mean, the school's
don't
under
own the
the,
school anymore.
yeah, it's under a district. I think it just needs to be cleaned up.
a public place is a place to which the general public has a right to resort, including but without limitation, all lands and buildings owned or leased by the town of Putney, the Putney School District, and shall include all public streets, highways, bridges, and sidewalks within the town. So currently, you are not allowed to walk downtown with an alcoholic beverage.
Well, there's an open container law too. There's a state law that prohibits that.
For walking or just
Yeah,
for
you
driving?
you're walking around, there's an open container law. You're not supposed to just be drinking on a sidewalk.
Did that change over COVID in Vermont? It changed in a lot of other
Something
changed.
states.
Yeah, because
You know, where they allowed people.
they allowed people to buy
They did,
buy
alcohol
mixed
and then you could have
drinks
it.
and
yes.
to-go cups and, you know, I just don't
We
know. But we don't have to answer all these questions.
Right,
We
right,
just
right.
need to put it on our list of things
Sure.
to answer.
So I guess
Right.
So to answer that question, so the alcohol ordinance, possibly needs to be updated to involve cannabis, although I'm not sure we would be popular if we prohibited cannabis on the sidewalk. I don't know.
Is
But
that a
isn't-
thing that's happening right
I
now?
have no idea.
I mean, I go for walks. I haven't smelled anyone
Right.
Right.
smoking on the sidewalk, but I don't think I'd make us unpopular by saying like, "Hey, respect children." you
Right.
know?
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I can see people saying, well, you're restricting that one, but you're not restricting tobacco.
Hmm.
Well, that's why I think we need to look at a policy. What do we think? What do we, you know?
So my main issue with this is that I don't have a Word copy of this, and I haven't found one yet.
I can
Do
convert
you
it.
have, can you?
Yes.
Because this is really old.
Yeah.
This is like a picture of a picture of a picture.
It's only one page. It wouldn't take much to type it.
Does
Unlike
Says
the
you.
17 page.
No, I know, right? I will, convert it to Word for you.
does it make more sense to put the cannabis under the alcohol ordinance because it's an ordinance versus the tobacco and smoking policy? Like, don't don't
Well, I guess the question is, do we want to treat cannabis on the sidewalks as the same as alcohol? Because the tobacco one is just public buildings, not
Right,
Oh,
right,
all the streets. And,
right.
It's THC more like alcohol or nicotine.
right.
Right. That's a good. What did you call it? Recreational substances.
That's a way
Recreational
too broad category.
substances.
Right.
I was just trying
Well,
to come up with
we're gonna
something
have-
to
So it's a
We're
working
gonna have an
title.
ecstasy ordinance before we're
Right, right.
So you mentioned the facility use policy.
Mhm.
That's because it came up with because of Cooperfield. Okay,
Yes.
I get it.
So,
I got it now. All right.
yeah, the other thing too is when you're considering, you can't have one place that you can allow it and not the others, right? So,
It
I think you
being,
can.
we could say that
Depends on the nature of the place.
yeah.
I mean, you could say you don't want people smoking weed at the ball field because there's too many kids around. But
well,
Yeah, we
you
could
wouldn't want
restrict it.
people
but you're
drinking
okay with
there
them doing
either,
it at the
right?
town
But you
hall.
Right.
but you do let people drink at Cooperfield. Anyways,
One is, I mean, people aren't giving their kids a sip of alcohol. Well, hopefully, they're not giving their kids a sip of alcohol, but
When you
Smoke.
smoke, it
You-
just
it
goes.
goes-
no,
you
I
could-
get that, I
right.
know that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
You're kind of giving
That
everybody
wasn't
your-
the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to make had to do with different places that were letting people drink at Cooper's Field, and we're not letting them drink at the playground. We don't have a playground, but if we had a playground, a
Right.
town playground, or
Yeah.
on the town, I don't know. You know that.
We'll have to think it through.
Outside the library.
Yeah,
Right.
Can you sit on the bench outside the library and have a beer or not?
it sounds lovely.
I know, but is that a policy
That
we
sounds
want to have?
really
The
nice
library.
right now. Okay, well, those
All
are
right.
questions we have to answer.
Okay. So back on the which ones of these which are the top priorities here?
How many do we have now?
So you have rec,
One,
right?
two. I have recreational master plan, which kind of encompasses all of the all the recreational stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
Solar advisory committee, alternate transportation committee, fee
Mhm.
structure for highways, event ordinance and fees, prepping for local option tax questions,
Mhm.
hearing, alcoholic ordinance update, and facility use policy and request update.
Okay.
Well, let's just get clear here about when we say we want to stand up a solar advisory committee or an alt transportation advisory committee, what are we? What does that mean?
I think the reason it got onto this list is that we were talking about maybe putting one of us on it,
Okay,
so
All
which
right.
would take time.
right. If that were the case, then yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's two ways to get information from committees. One is to have one of us actually on it, and the other one is to have them report back to us every week,
Right. Or every.
every
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Right. We
Yeah.
don't make anybody report back to us at all. And we should be doing that more.
We should be.
encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, it seems to me it's real. I mean, when I look at these, I mean, they're just different levels of work
Mhm.
on our part. You know, whether
Mhm.
we grab a policy and draft it versus whether we want to be the select board rep for the department to
Yep.
creating a new department.
Right.
So, I couldn't take on another rep to a ongoing committee because I'm doing that now with the
Right.
fire and rescue. But I think that's a really important place for us to have a select board representation because I think that's a hugely important thing we're talking about doing in our town. And
If we stand up a recreational master plan committee, I'd be happy to be a part of that.
Is that going to include the alcohol?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the way we look at it, that there's some committees here and then there's
Right.
policies.
Yeah.
So, I already put my name on the alcohol ordinance. And I've expressed an interest in the alternate transportation committee, so I can put my name on that.
So that's 3 of them.
That's 3 of them. Somebody want to take on like fee structure for the highway, an event ordinance?
I'd be happy to take on an event ordinance, or either of those,
Okay.
I
one
think
of those.
in event ordinance is important. Because like I said, by next year, I think.
Things are
you-
happening,
Yeah,
yeah.
things are happening.
Right.
You
Good
got
things.
block parties, you got
Yeah.
Halloween parties, you got,
Yeah.
annual, so I think that's important.
I think we should be able to do all of these things.
Okay.
I don't think we have to say, I think we have enough energy to
To do all those,
do
okay.
all of them. I mean, whatever we don't claim here, we'll just tell Eric he has to do,
There you
because he
go.
wasn't here.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
don't-
have
Don't forget, in September, we'll start looking at budgets.
budgets,
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
It's already
I
August.
know. Is there anything that
No, it's
appeals
not.
to you
That's
particularly,
2 days.
Fletcher?
yeah, so Fletcher, I've got solar advisory committee. If we stand one of those up, we need a liaison for that. I've got, well, Peg, you said you'd take on both of the fee structure?
No, I
Oh,
said
just one.
one.
You said event. You
I'll
said-
do event,
You'll do event?
unless somebody else wants to do that, and then I'll do something
So there's
else.
fee structure for the highway?
I'll do highway.
Okay.
I was gonna give that one to Eric.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I know, right?
Uh,
But it's okay, I'll work with you, Fletcher.
Okay. And I'll look at local option sales tax as
Great.
well.
I think
Great,
that
that
one's
would be
gonna
great.
be a heavy lift.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we
but
just gotta
if you could
give
at
a
least,
clear presentation of
Right,
it.
yeah,
We just
right.
gotta find out how
Yeah.
it works.
Right.
and be
Yeah.
Clear.
Thank you for taking that one on.
and then I have the alcohol one. So facility use policy, we can give to Eric.
Sure.
Well, you guys can fight over those, the highway and the facility use.
That's all of them? Or
I think so.
the committees are good?
These are the ones I wrote down: recreational master plan, solar advisory committee, transportation committee, fee structure for highway, events, prepping for local option tax questions, alcoholic ordinance, facility use policy, and I have you, Nate, as for the recreational.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be an advisory committee for the master plan. So you're on the recreational advisory committee. Fletcher's on the solar advisory committee. I'd be on the alternate transportation committee. Peg's already on the fire department committee. Fee
Right.
structure. For highway, I have Fletcher's name on it. Events ordinance, I have Peg's name on it. Fletcher has prepping for the local option tax questions. I have the alcohol ordinance. And Eric gets the facility use policy and request update.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, so when's the deadline?
It says projects for the next 6 months.
Yeah,
Okay,
there we go.
yeah. So I think the local tax would have to be done sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things.
Right.
Right, because
Right.
that, we want that for before town meeting.
Yep.
Some of these I think are just as soon as possible, right? So the sooner we can update the fee structure, the sooner
Mhm.
we can get
Yep.
more up-to-date
Okay.
revenue, right? And the solar, it takes time to
Right.
stand up committees, so,
Yep.
let's aim for committees being stood up pretty soon and give them the goal is that they'll have something to show for it in 6 months.
What can we give them a charge?
We have to write up the charges.
Right.
first.
Right,
Yeah.
so do that first before,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
maybe those folks who are heading up those advisory committees
Can
should
write the charges.
write the charge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanna put deadlines on that?
Sure.
October.
October.
I was gonna say September. I like doing it.
Charges by October.
Okay.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
And it's being recorded, so we can.
Yeah, right, I don't know, where's this recording going?
I'm not sure. Okay. Do we have anything else that we?
I have one other thing,
Yeah.
is I just wanna know people's thoughts about us having a new town logo. That we have this logo on our stuff. that
So
was
branding,
updated.
are you talking about a new brand?
I mean, I guess you could call it a brand or a logo, whatever, that thing right there just seems to be so outdated, and I think we could get some fun traction in town by getting people, some of the artists in town, you know, people to submit.
Love that.
So
So
do
much.
a campaign,
Yes.
like a campaign
Yeah, like
for
a
investors and
town
have people like
yeah.
vote on their
Yeah.
favorite logo. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's
What
amazing.
do you all think about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds
that's.
great.
I
You wanna
was
take it on?
just at a legal conference that included a session on the importance of branding
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was put on by the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his divorce.
I know.
Well, I mean, that brand, I mean, look at that, it's just
Well, he
feels.
was very concerned about his brand.
Yeah, it just seems so. Do you want to take that on? I just have
Sure,
the
yeah, I
idea,
can
but
try to come up with
I
something.
could, or maybe
to,
we
like,
can work together. I'd be happy to work with you on, you know, bring a plan to the select board
Absolutely.
about how to.
I think it'd be great to get the artists involved.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a little
absolutely.
contest thing.
A little.
Yeah.
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 And the craft tour is gonna be coming up in the fall.
Yeah.
Or you could tie it in
Very
with
true.
that. Well, it may be too
It
late.
might be a little short notice.
But
Yeah.
if people are going on the craft tour, they could vote at the same time.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Their choices on
Be
Such
kind
a
of-
great idea.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
It would be fun, I think.
Mhm.
Now with the new website and.
the. Yeah. Do we even know where that one came from?
Oh, I think we'd have to dig back in the files to find that one. It might
It's
have
older
been.
than me, I know that.
Yeah.
1753.
I don't think they.
Probably George Aiken drew it.
Yeah, really.
Like Ira Allen did the Vermont seal and George did Putney.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Um,
branding.
Are you
don't
ready
like
at
that name,
Are you ready at
branding.
minutes or am I ready at minutes?
All I can do
Yeah.
is.
We're gonna take them there.
I'm gonna have Rachel write them up.
Okay. Do you think? Do you need this? My chicken scratch? Priorities?
No, I think I have them.
Or should I write them up?
You know what I might do is just, I'll draft something and then send it over to you.
I think I'm gonna go home and like transcribe this because in 2
Okay.
days I'm not gonna be able to read it.
Right.
And I can send it out.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I'm good.
No other ideas?
I'm always full of ideas, but I think that getting to the bottom of the list that we created before is probably a good start, and then we can
Yep.
have another goal setting session maybe when we finish these ones.
Yeah, a lot of this is gonna be covered, so I think,
Yeah.
It's great.
good
Yeah, we
job,
did stuff.
everyone. I
We
mean,
did do stuff.
things happen, things come up, we, adjust and realign, and
Keep going.
that's right. So,
Okay.
thank you
Yeah.
Yeah.
for coming out tonight.
So can I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay. See y'all next week.
That was another hour and a half
Next
meeting.
week?